The Tournament of Power is a little under 40 hours away as Goku attempts to recruit everyone he possibly can get a hold of, as Goku sets his sight on recruiting Krillin and Android 18 for the tournament, as Gohan is set to train with Krillin in Dragon Ball Super Episode 84. And joining me here today, guys, to tackle our prediction video is my good friend Emish. And if anyone feels any differently as to our opinions, or if anyone has anything to add in pertains to Dragon Ball Super Episode number 84, feel free to share your thoughts and predictions with us down in the comment section below, for your comments are also going to be featured in next week's prediction video. So, Emish, I do want to talk to you today about, Krillin having to fight Gohan next week, and of course, we have 28 planets that were confirmed to have Ningen on them in this episode. So, there are several things that for some people would make sense, but for others, some people are on the edge as to what happened, if they agree or disagree with 28 planets, and of course, the overall concept of having Gohan train with Krillin. So I wanted to get your overall thoughts as to Dragon Ball Super Episode 84 with Gohan having to train with Krillin, and in specific, I wanted to get your thoughts on the 28 planets that are still left, with Ningen on them, because after having to think about trillions and trillions of planets out there that, are all throughout the entire universe, only 28 of them are still active, like in an essence. So, I mean, this to me just seems like it was a little bit of a cop-out to just simply say, oh, it was 28 planets that were remaining. But I want to get your thoughts as to what do you believe is going to happen in next week's episode, alongside your thoughts as to what we saw in Dragon Ball Super Episode 83.
Well, first and foremost, always appreciate having me on the channel.
Always,
really
brother.
Appreciate
Thank
that. But aside from all that, I generally share the same feelings you had with 83. This episode, we all pretty much, we can all agree. For those of you guys watching now, for those of you guys who are going to watch the video after it's uploaded, it's was going to be filler in a sense, but this is kind of like one of those filler episodes that I actually enjoyed. But I do agree with you. I didn't necessarily like the whole concept of the way they explained the mortal level. I'm not mad that it has to do with the quantity of life or anything like that. I'm not upset with that. But you're right. 28 goddamn planets.
28 planets out of hundreds of trillions of planets, bro. I want all of you guys to use science here. If you look at the scope of the universe, in which we don't even know anything about our own universe, if you look at the sheer size, right, there are hundreds of billions of galaxies and solar systems and planets and stars, and you're gonna tell me that there are only 28 that bear that of Ningen life. So what does that tell you? Some people have been saying, oh man, you can blame Frieza for that, or you can blame Kid Buu for that. Granted, to a degree, yeah, but you can't sit there and tell me that it was because of Kid Buu and Frieza, responsible of destroying trillions of stars and planets in which resulted in us having only 28. I can't believe that. I mean, granted, during the days of Kid Buu, during the days of Frieza, I can understand there being planets being destroyed and civilizations having to be decimated, but not to this kind of level, because having a look at, the entire universe, basically their universe is empty. You can't go to any star system or solar system and recruit someone who's credible, or at least, formidable in combat, because there is nobody out there technically. So, and Kaioshin actually said that when Planet Vegeta and Planet Namek were destroyed, that pretty much did it for the universe. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole 28 planets being, left in Universe 7, and your overall thoughts on, if this, makes sense ultimately on what the Omni King was talking about, in terms of the mortal rankings and Universe 9 having to be below that, having to be reckless, because Beerus as a god, if you look at him, from a scope, he's a lazy god. He doesn't really do anything, and if there's trouble, he doesn't really jump into action. So maybe the other gods, if shit pops off, they actually step in and they make a difference and they make that change. So what are your overall thoughts on there being 28 planets? Because that's just troubling to me, man.
To touch up on the whole concept of the whole Beerus being lazy thing, I think we talked about it before. I don't remember if it was off camera in another video. We talked about the relationship between the two. I think ultimately what happened between them was, as a result of the Kaioshin just saying that to let the Ningen and the mortals develop on their own, right? It caused for Beerus to become lazy over time. There was no need for him to just go out and create or make sure there was a balance in the universe, right? So the way he was supposed to, if this civilization is not developing properly or whatever, boom, destroy it. The Kaioshin kind of stressed the fact that, okay, well, we should let them develop on their own. Now, we don't know when this happened, because we do know that the Elder Kai was the original Kaioshin, who was Pero Beerus, but he was sealed in the Z Sword. That's what happened in Dragon Ball Super, right?
Right.
We don't know when this whole agreement between Beerus and Shin actually came to be, but it's safe to say that it happened, I would say, probably around the time of the the Saiyans or Frieza, if anything, right? Maybe even after that or before that. But
would you blame the Saiyans though? Do you blame any other civilization for like the decimation of the universe?
I can't. No, I can't. I can't blame. I can't see when we first talked, when the whole mortal ranking levels thing came out first, right?
Right.
I was the one saying where it's not fair to just point at a specific person. You cannot tell me that one or two specific, or even just one race in general, is responsible for the demise and the well-being of the entire. I mean, like you just said, every star, every planet, every solar system, every fucking planet, and they're responsible for that. That to me, a lot of people are gonna think it. I'm just saying it. It was an ass pull, but it wasn't that drastic, I think. But because it definitely, as of lately, we know Dragon Ball Super, the way they portray the story, they don't necessarily want to do a lot of explaining. They introduce a concept, right? And when we ask questions, they say, oh, well, this is what happened. Boom. Just, shove it under the rug. So that's what happened with that. I 100% agree with you that it was a complete ass pull. It was kind of a cop-out. We have some people also agreeing that it was a cop-out. Now, a casual audience might not feel that way. A casual audience might say, well, why are you guys complaining? Just watch the fucking show and enjoy it. I agree with you. But our job is to decipher what's going on. So you gotta take that with a grain of salt.
It's just so hard for me to believe that, man. 28 planets remaining?
I completely agree, because every other universe has a multitude of fighters, a different variety of fighters, derived from different parts of the universe, as to where we were pretty much saying that, well, Universe 7 had it the worst throughout every other universe. But that's what kind of makes me crazy. I mean, Frieza, Majin Buu. I mean, these people. I know Majin Buu, Kid Buu, was running around using instant transmission, destroying planets left and right. We know Frieza used the Saiyans to pillage planets and sell them and stuff like that. We know that. But at the same time, it's just too fucking stupid. And excuse me, I'm not really mad. I'm not really upset with what happened. But when you guys asked, when Alex asked me to break down or to give you my thoughts on a storyline,
and again, if you guys differ from Emish, if you guys believe that 28 planets are suitable, let us know, because the only reason why I'm a little upset is because if you look at the scope of a universe, of an expanding universe, there are trillions and trillions of planets.
You mean to tell us that Frieza really did that much damage?
And not only that, but logically speaking, if you are supposed to be the destroyer of that universe, and there's a tournament being held, you want to scope out the entire universe to find someone out there who's worthy enough of being on your team. But here, I can understand that there's Goku and Vegeta and Gohan and Piccolo and Buu. Yes, that's understandable. And even the humans, I'll give them credit, Krillin and Tien. But also, you can't sit there and tell me that there aren't any other beings out there that are way stronger than Roshi, Tien, and Krillin that you can use to put on your team. But according to this, that's not the case. But either way, this sets up. No, go ahead.
You know what's funny, Alex? Now that you mentioned that, and it's not, and we're not even looking at it from a. We don't have to look at it from a power perspective, right?
Right.
Because the Namekians weren't all that advanced. If you think about it, they weren't an advanced race. Yeah, sure, they had the and that's another thing. They had the Dragon Balls, right? Universe 6 and 7 has the Super Dragon Balls, but this doesn't in any way, shape, or form, contribute to our universe's performance, right? We have the Namekians, who also had their version of the Dragon Balls. We have our own version of the Dragon Balls on Earth, right? But none of this really pertains or contributes to the performance or ranking system or the ranking level, right? Okay.
Right.
Despite all the people and things that were wished back, despite everything that happened throughout the Frieza arc, throughout the Cell arc, throughout the Kid Buu arc, throughout any arc, the Dragon Balls always had the final say. The Dragon Balls, hence the name of the show, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, right? So now, once again, we were recently introduced to the Super Dragon Balls, ultimately telling us from the get-go that the Super Dragon Balls ultimately will potentially have the final say, right?
Well, they are supposed to be the reward, technically. Yeah, you're right.
Right, but to show us that early, it's pretty much assuming that let's say if everything goes to shit, that the Super Dragon Balls will ultimately play the final role as to what happens or if anything gets reversed, right?
Well, yeah, when you have the power to do whatever you want, as seen with Zamasu, you can do whatever you want with those Dragon Balls. It's almost as if you're having like an infinite gift to do, as you please. But going into Dragon Ball Super Episode 84, Krillin versus Gohan. There is something with Krillin, and I know how much you don't like Krillin, but there is something with him. Even when he was battling Basal in his mind as Gohan and Goku were pretty much, envisioning that, Krillin was using the solar flare, the after image. He was fighting not more or less of a strong fighter, but he was kind of fighting as if he was like a strategist. He was trying to use the after image, and then followed by that, since Basal hit the wrong person, he used solar flare and he trapped him with a couple of ki blasts. So it looks like it was more like a strategy based kind of thing. But either way, I think we can all agree that Gohan would smash Krillin out the water, right? So in terms of Gohan having to say, let's test Krillin, what are your thoughts on that? Because they want to see how he fares up. Do you think it's a formidable test, or do you think that it's just something?
No, I think Krillin needs to be tested. Recently, we all said Gohan needed to be tested, and he was tested, and he came through, and now he's determined. Okay, so he's back on my list. Gohan is no longer on my shit list, right? And he's one of my favorite characters of all time. But to be fair, I had to be tough on him. But I just refuse to like Krillin whatsoever. It doesn't matter what you tell me. And even in that whole little sequence of them fighting, him and Basal fighting, whatever, Basal ultimately ended up having the upper hand, just before Goku and Gohan opened their eyes and stuff like that, after that scene went over. But ultimately, you put him against... I agree with Krillin having to be tested. Because that bullshit episode with the whole, him, Saitama-ing, One Punch Manning the fake Super Shenron, that was bullshit. That was just, it was just a means to get people to understand that, guys, we're bringing back the old characters, so be excited. It's good. I'm not denying that. But Krillin definitely needs to be pushed. He definitely needs to be tested. Because look at his wife, 18. If you were to ask her to fight or kick somebody's ass, would she have any trouble doing it? Hell no. But Krillin, for some reason, would have a hard time doing that. It doesn't matter who he's up against. He's one of those characters that, despite how far he's come as a fighter, even if he doesn't fight anymore, right? Despite how far he's come, for some reason he always acts like, and I'm gonna say it because I don't like Krillin, so just warning you guys, he always acts like a little bitch, one way or another. He always turns out to be this guy who's scared of something. And going back to the whole thing between him and Basal, it was just a one-on-one scenario. He's going to have other fighters looking to potentially want to kick his ass because he's probably one of the smallest characters in the entire ring. Of
course, yeah.
So naturally, he just looks weak. He doesn't look formidable. But I do think the solar flare, we were talking about it last time.
That's a really good technique to use, honestly. If you really want to throw someone off guard, bro.
Right. I'm glad to see that they're bringing that back because we thought because it made too much sense, they wouldn't bring it back. But it looks like they might potentially. We're gonna have to wait and see. But I do agree with what you're saying, man. Krillin definitely needs to be tested. You can't just ask him to join a tournament because you could potentially find someone else a lot more useful than Krillin. So I agree with the fact that he needs to be tested.
And I think it's a good thing that we're finally seeing some sort of training from Gohan and Krillin, because I think that I would have hope in seeing Piccolo train, Tien, just Goku having to say, you know what, let's test you real fast before we bring you in, kind of thing, with the exception of Vegeta, because Vegeta's Vegeta, but, seeing that with Krillin, it's a good thing. I want to see what 17 is capable of, because legit, throughout the entirety of Dragon Ball Super, we haven't seen or heard from him at all. So I would only hope that, obviously he's going to be a part of the team, but I can only hope that once he works with his sister, that he's going to be as dangerous as they were before when they were a single cohesive unit, because it's kind of worrisome that maybe, obviously, he must have slacked off. He's a park ranger, so do you really sit there and wonder, all right, well, has he been training? You don't know that, but then again, he may have not,
I still think he's going to be better than Krillin.
You think so? All right, so you're going to say that as of now, 17 is superior than Krillin, even as of right now.
Well, we can use any word. It could be superior. It could be completely just overpowering. Yes, he was always stronger.
Goku tried to, just remove that fear factor from him and actually having to oppose his foes.
What that did was it only made Krillin stronger at heart. It didn't make him stronger as a fighter.
He gave him balls, yeah.
Right, so 17 was always stronger than Krillin. We're not denying that. 18 was always stronger. 18 is still stronger than Krillin. So it's not like we have to decipher just because 17 potentially slacked off that he might not be what a lot of people want him to be in this Tournament of Power. Right. But I feel there is a reason why Goku is looking for 17 specifically. It's not just the whole fan service thing, because think about it. How many people really put 17 on their top 5 favorite characters list? After they killed him off, or after after Cell absorbed him and that was it, nobody really talked about 17. But the minute we saw that 17 was in the in the new scans for the Universe Survival arc, everybody was like, oh my god, 17's coming back. Oh my god, think of the possibilities between 17 and 18. So it revived us. It gave us that nostalgia factor. So I do think naturally, by default, 17 is superior to Krillin. Yes, I would have to say that.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to ask you was, towards the end of the preview, at the very, very end, if you stick around, Goku becomes a Super Saiyan Blue against Krillin. Now, there we go. The why factor's there. I mean, what I'm thinking here is that next week, I think that if Goku goes up against Krillin, old time's sakes, having a fight and spar, whatever, I think that since Krillin grew such massive balls, he's going to tell Goku, listen, I know you're way above me, but I don't care. I want you to go all out. I want you to show me the powers of what a Super Saiyan Blue can do, and I'm going to try my best. And at the very end, Goku was like in stance. He was ready. Even though Goku can just smack him once and that'll be the end of his life. That's what, like, I think that would happen personally if they fought, on a serious level. But there's a reason why he became a Super Saiyan Blue. Now, it's arguable that it's just in his head, but it doesn't seem like it. But let's just say, for example, if Krillin does say to Goku, you know what? I want to see, what you can do. For old time's sake, let's spar, but don't hold back. Give me everything you got. I think by the end of it, Krillin will learn from this, and going into this tournament, he's going to adapt, his training with Gohan, with possibly Goku, that fear factor having to be removed. He's going to try to, defend his family. So what are your overall thoughts on Krillin having to potentially spar with Super Saiyan Blue Goku next week?
If that's the case, what you're saying, where he tells Goku, listen, Goku, the only way I'm going to get stronger, be able to stand up against these people, is if you give me your all, right?
And it would make sense too, actually.
Right. I can't really think, because Goku's just not like that. Goku's just not the type of dude to say, you know what, I'm going to bully this man. He's
no, of
just
course
not.
Like I mean,
that.
I'm sure he's going to grant his wish and saying, you know what,
right? Because if we think about it, I don't even remember him going Super Saiyan Blue against Gohan when they fought, when Gohan was the Great Saiyan Man.
That's because Chi-Chi stopped it real fast. She was like, you're destroying everything, stop.
No, I get that, but we didn't even get that kind of, action. And then even Gohan in the Zen exhibition match, he went up against Lavenda. He went through some shit. But if what they're trying to do with Krillin is to try to portray that, listen, I think Krillin fell off even more than Gohan. Not just in terms of power, because obviously we know Gohan had the biggest drop in power since the Cell arc or the Buu arc, whatever. But right. When we look at it in terms of character, Krillin, and forget Yamcha, forget these guys, because Yamcha gave up fighting. He just pulled after 19 and Jiro came and stuff like that. That's when he just gave everything up.
Actually, no. When he fought the Cell Juniors, that was his final. Yes. Yeah, that was his final hoorah. Because he didn't fight Buu. He had no choice. He tried to run away from Buu, but that didn't really work out. So
he had no choice to fight the Cell Juniors.
Cell Juniors, he actually had balls. I mean, him and Tien really, they did
kind
something.
Of forced them. But other than that, right, we're looking at Krillin, who is, amongst the humans, or just as a fighter, the Z fighters, probably the one who fell off the most, right? And especially granted that he was one of the original characters. So I think what they're trying to do is make it this, give Goku and Krillin this whole teamwork kind of thing going on, kind of like what it was in Dragon Ball. They're kind of trying to bring that thing back. That's what I feel. I think in Japan, Krillin is a popular character, to my knowledge. So potentially that would be good for business. It would be good for, just for people who missed Krillin as a whole, people who want to see Krillin be a little bit more relevant again. We got Gohan, we got Buu, all of that stuff is out the way. Now they're trying to give Krillin, I think they're trying to give Krillin a little more shine than he deserves, honestly. Right. But if this is what it's going to take for him to improve his character and even get me to watch him, right? And even get me to watch him, by all means, I'm totally for that. I respect him for saying, listen, Goku, you have to go all out, and that's the only way I'm going to be able to stand up to these guys. I completely agree with that. But then again, it's like, well, how much could you honestly take from Goku at Super Saiyan Blue? Forget the Kaioken. At Super Saiyan Blue, even Super Saiyan, honestly, but Super Saiyan Blue, I mean, dude, come on, like, how
but
much?
Even with that, man, you still got to do something, because I admire how Gohan is doing some training with Krillin, but even if it does boil down to Krillin telling Goku, listen, don't hold back, it's all or nothing. I mean, we're gonna die either way if we all fail, right? So just bring it on, like, just give me something to work with. I think it's a good thing, because if you hold back now, then what if he does come across someone who's as strong as Goku, if not stronger, even though he's not gonna be able to do much? Remember, at the end of the day, this tournament isn't based on power, brother. It's based on strategy. So he doesn't have to be stronger. All he needs to do is just outsmart you and then get your ass out the ring, and that's it.
In a one-on-one scenario, even if you're training, see, that's the problem with their method of training right now. Everything is a one-on-one scenario.
Right.
They're not mimicking what could potentially happen in the Tournament of Power. You kind of like how Vegeta trains when he's in the time chamber. He trains against all these robots shooting lasers, like the way Goku used to train when he was on his way to Namek.
Or when Piccolo, you know what I'm saying? Piccolo fought Goku and Gohan, when they all sparred against. I think it was preparation for the androids.
Right, they don't do these things anymore. That's their problem. So you have everything in a one-on-one scenario. So now it's, well, that's not what the case is here. So if they're it's obvious they're just trying to test Krillin's strength and willingness to stand up to.
And he is a team player. He is.
Yeah, definitely. But they're just testing his willingness to stand up to someone significantly stronger than him. But I think Krillin as a whole will act differently in the face of someone else because he's facing Goku as his friend. He knows Goku would never really try to kill him or really do him harm. But you put him up, against someone like Basil or Lavenda. God forbid he goes up against Lavenda. It's over for him. So I'm just not sure. I don't agree with the whole one-on-one training method, but I would prefer to see them train in an all-out kind of a group thing, maybe. I think that would be better.
With the exception of Goku, you throw Goku in there, he's beating everybody's ass. I think he ought to be like the spectator, since he's the recruiter. But I mean, we saw various things happen in Dragon Ball Super Episode 83. We saw how Whis used his staff to pretty much allow Bulma to give birth instantly. We saw the birth of Bola.
What was that about?
Whis is like some magical deity from God himself, because the things that he does reverses time. He knows about. I don't know if you remember when Vegeta first unlocked Super Saiyan Blue, when Goku and Vegeta collided punches. And when that blue spark went off, they asked what was that, and Whis knew. Whis knows so many things. So it's like this dude is like he's Houdini. Like he comes in and out.
He's literally Houdini.
He does whatever. Like he's like a magician. And
he's a prophet.
He is. And we saw how there was lots of tension. Even Beerus, he was eating like a pig because he wanted to. Obviously he wanted his this giant meeting to be at Bulma's so he can have a giant feast, because he thinks all right, well, this is gonna be like the last time I'm gonna eat comfortably without this maniac getting me killed. And even when he asked Goku was like, well, I'm really excited, Lord Beerus. And Beerus was like, yo, like, you're unbelievable. I can't believe this right now. Like, you don't care.
If I may, to touch up on something you mentioned earlier, I just forgot to mention it.
Go ahead.
About the whole 28 planets thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that concept really takes away from Beerus' character, man. Honestly, it took away.
In what sense, though?
I mean, we know he's lazy, right? We know that, but how much more of a beating in terms of his character is he going to take? He's getting tricked by Goku. He's completely irrelevant in terms of displaying any kind of strength whatsoever, right? The last thing we saw from him, other than the Battle of Gods, was him destroying Zamasu, but that ended up doing nothing to anything. It didn't help anybody, right? I mean, ultimately it did for the present timeline, but I'm saying generally, and it just goes for every god in general. We've yet to see any kind of indication that the gods are somebody to be feared, to be revered in the case of Zamasu, or to just be respected in general. They have no respect.
No, go ahead.
They just have no respect. There's nothing going for them at this point. I think this whole 28 planet thing, it takes away from Beerus as a whole. It takes away from Beerus not only as a character, it takes away from his position as a god of destruction. So now it's like, well, there's so many arguments you could open up now. So now it's like, okay, not only is Beerus a lazy god, he's probably one of the worst gods, right? And that sucks. That really sucks. Granted that Universe 7 has potentially, obviously, Goku's potentially one of the strongest fighters to ever have lived, right? Probably amongst the multiverse, right. Or at least in the universes competing in this tournament, right? So it sucks to see the god tier class be so completely irrelevant or inferior to the mortals, which is kind. You would think. Like, Whis is on a level of his own, but he maintains that. Even if he eats all day, even if he doesn't do a goddamn thing all day, the respect factor is still there for Whis. But for Beerus, it's like, oh, fuck that guy. Like,
this is where I'm going to have to, respectfully disagree, because you just spoke about how nobody's there to really challenge the authority. Well, you can't technically challenge the authority of someone who can just easily Hakai you into, like, the Shadow Realm, because in terms of being respected, they are. In terms of doing their job, they do not. Because if you want to look at the positioning of each god, having to look at Beerus' character as a whole, he's a cat. What are cats? They're lazy, they sleep all day, hence why he slept for 30, 40 years. He slept for a long time. And
but cats are very dominant.
Whenever he sees fit, he wants to go eat. And as demonstrated early on when Dragon Ball Super first came out, if you don't, give him what he wants, he'll either crack your planet in half or he'll destroy it.
I know. Beerus was based off of I think was it Toriyama?
He has a cat. Yeah, it was Toriyama's actual cat. But the thing here is like he is a lazy destroyer, and I think that's what kind of jeopardized his universe, because we know that the mortal ranking is not based on power. So what does he do? If someone doesn't give him good food, he'll destroy your planet, hence why he just removed the civilization, which kind of takes away from the mortal rank. So people want to blame Frieza, people want to blame Buu. You kind of also have to blame Beerus, and even Shin said, hey, this is kind of your fault too. Like, they kept blaming each other, and Beerus having to say, well, you were the one that kept saying let's just look over them and stuff, and like things like that. But either way, in this episode, he was so nervous, and rightfully so, because he's putting his faith and the fate of his position in the hands of an idiot. But this idiot is a really brilliant idiot when it comes down to fighting, but at this point he's a selfish, arrogant idiot. And even to the point where they're saying, hey, you gotta watch it, because even the Elder Kai said there are fighters out there that have been spawned that are significantly stronger. Like, what are we gonna do? And Goku's like, well, we got this. Like, so that either tells you one of two things: either this man has gotten so freakishly strong to the point where he doesn't even have to rely on nobody else, or he has his fate in someone else. Because again, if he gets thrown out, he can't. I'm not trying to say Gohan or anything, but all he kept mentioning was, well, Gohan's a team player. Gohan's raising the mortal rank. Gohan this, Gohan that. Even if he gets thrown out, I think he still has faith in his team. But I just think that the overall point in having 28 planets, that really ruined it for me, because people are gonna start mentioning all types of names. What about PyCon? What about this guy? Hey, remember that guy from HFIL?
And they're dead anyway.
People are gonna mention different things. Some are canon material, some are not. But the point is, it's like Dragon Ball Super Episode 83 established two things. Number one, Universe 7 is basically fucked, and everyone that's on Earth are the only ones that we have left to worry about. Like, the only ones that we have to rely on. And number two, in essence, it's like, I think that Vegeta and Goku are definitely up to something, because Vegeta, even himself, he doesn't seem to be so concerned. And Gohan said it best. He said, wow, Dad, like, we actually have someone to protect now. Like, we actually have more people to protect, that being, Bulma. And Goku said it. He looked at Gohan, he said, yeah, we're definitely gonna win this. And it kind of got me going. I was like, why is Goku so confident about this? Like, how do you know you're gonna win this? How do you know? Even though he's excited to fight other people, and even when he fought Toppo, he was like, wow, my skin is tingling. That's how, like, sensational I am right now. It baffles me, because Krillin is Krillin, Goku's Goku. If we had 10 Gokus, we'd be good. But we don't have 10 Gokus.
I think it's just an easy way of not really explaining Goku's story, as for development wise. They're just gonna give him some. It's gonna be like a Trunks thing, like where, okay, now he has this new potential form or new potential temporary technique or something like that. You know what I mean? Kind of like what happened with Trunks in that arc. And if they do, take that approach, how would you feel about that, honestly? Like,
well, then again, I was asked the question earlier. Someone asked me, what if Goku does achieve a new form, but in order to...
it's how they do it. That's the thing.
Either how or when at any given point, if Goku were to achieve a new form, let's say new form or technique, either or. Let's say he does this. In order to preserve the credibility of that form or technique, the best thing to do is to have Goku go up against the strongest, which is presumably Jiren, and have them do sort of like a double ring out. That way, it preserves Jiren's character for not being eliminated one-on-one, and it also preserves the form for Goku, that what he has, in making it kind of credible to the point where, damn, we saw it, but they slipped out the ring. And that was the only way we saw them both lose, is they didn't really knock each other out, they didn't kill each other, they happened to both ring each other out. So that could be a possibility. But what I love about this arc so far is that none of us in the community know where this is gonna go. For all we know, the Omni King might get up and say, I'm bored, let's just stop, let's just do something else. Like, you'll never know. But any final thoughts before we get out of here in terms of episode 84?
No, that's pretty much it, I think. Not much really going on in episode 83. I loved Vegeta's interaction with every time they were holding the babies and talking in the background, and whenever Bolo started crying, he would just get mad and turn Super Saiyan Blue like that. I think that was hilarious.
Yeah, they were like, "Is that an?" It was funny. The best part was when Yamcha tried to like add and put some input in things, and they were just like, "Shut up, bro."
But other than that, it was I think kind of as expected. Other than what you mentioned, the whole 28 planet thing. I think that was a cop-out, definitely. I don't see that being something, because it's just something, it's like, okay, well, it's kind of like what I said earlier. Okay, you introduce a concept, we ask questions, and then you give us this answer, and that's it. It is what it is. We have to accept it, right? There's no other way to explain it. So now that puts everything to rest. Everything is finally at rest. There's no more conversations about the mortal ranking level. There's no more conversations about, why there's no other, Fighters Universe 7. There's no more. That's it. It's all done. Now, what is there left to talk about? Nothing.
Well, we could talk about Super Saiyan Blue ×3, Kaioken times 100 Krillin, who's gonna solo the entire tournament.
Slash Super Saiyan 3 /
Omni God Krillin is gonna walk in there with his glowing, little dots on his forehead.
Yeah.
But let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Do you guys think Krillin is going to play a really important role, or is he simply going to get thrown out? And what are your overall thoughts on Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, and the 28 planets concept? Comment down below, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you guys are fans, don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. If you guys enjoyed the video, slap a like down below. And, of course, guys, subscribe to MS's channel for more Dragon Ball content. And on that note, we'll be seeing you all in the next Dragon Ball video. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.